friend.
All right, good evening. This is our official public hearing on IDEA, ESSA, and the title grants. Andrea Smith and Erica Hasselstrom are going to take us through those three presentations. Thank you.
Good evening. I'll get started. So I'm going to talk about the IDEA grant. The IDEA, is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The purpose of this act is to provide free, appropriate public education or FAPE to children with disabilities. It gives parents and legal guardians voice in their child's education. Who is this designed for? Children with disabilities, birth through high school graduation or age 21, who need special education services to be successful in school. The IDEA provides grant funding for early intervention, which is ages 3 through 5, and FAPE, in the least restrictive environment for children with disabilities ages 3 through 21. The idea behind the grant is that it's meant to supplement, not supplant. So what that means is there's a certain amount of money that as a district we have to spend before we can use the money or access the money in both of the grants that I'm going to talk about. On this next slide that says IDEA grant assurances, there's a link. So there's a list of insurances that we have to adhere to and say that as a district, we will adhere to these insurances in order for them to give us the grant money. I did not list all of them there, but there's a link that you could click on if you wanted to read them. The first part is the section 619 of the IDEA grant. And so as a district, you get to decide where you want to put the money or where you want the money to go to support. So in the 619, we currently have it going towards salaries for professional staff, purchase special education services, and also to support our parentally placed students in the district. For the 611 allocations, currently they're again salaries for support staff, special education services, salaries for professional staff, and again to support our parentally placed. The next slide compares the 611 and 619, so it's last year's allocations compared to this year's allocations. Does anybody have any questions?
Quick question.
Yes.
What's parentally placed financially?
So parentally placed are, let me see, give you an example. So parents who have chosen to send their child to like St. Mary's School is a good example of that. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I asked this once before and I forgot. What's that APE?
FAPE, so free appropriate public education. Any other questions? Thank you.
So it's a little unusual for us not to be using an actual PowerPoint in front of us in terms of being able to see it and stay engaged with you on it. So we're going to do our best with these slides that we have on our handouts for you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about ESSA and the title grants. So last year we talked about ESSA. Actually, we've been talking about it for 2 years now. It's the Every Student Succeeds Act, and it's what replaced No Child Left Behind. So whenever you hear those two things, No Child Left Behind became ESSA with the new presidential administration. All states were required to become part, to have plans under ESSA, and New York State was approved in January of 2018. So we've been living in the land of ESSA for a couple of years now. The biggest thing about ESSA as a federal structure versus what NICED is saying is that we have to make sure that they overlap in terms of providing access for students to educational services, opportunities for them to have academic intervention services, and equity for all. So when you think about that, we have a few title grants that I'm going to talk to you about. Typically, when we talk about ESSA, we're talking about Title I, Title IIA, also I'm gonna talk a little bit about Title III this year, and Title IV. Those are the grants that we use that come from federal money for us. And the biggest thing about those is that we have to make sure that we're providing services to students who are from low-income houses and who need academic intervention services. So, page here. So again, Andrea had mentioned supplement, not supplant. The thing with all of the title grants is that we have to have a district proportion paid before we can use the title grant money. And anything that we're using as a service under Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, we have to be able to support it technically if we didn't get that grant money. So that's supplement, not supplant. That gets a little bit challenging when we think about the fact that Title I, as we talk about it, is a lot of our salaries for our academic intervention service providers. So if you look at the slide that gives the breakout of the title grants, you can see that we had some changes in our allocations from 2019, 2020 to 2020, 2021. So our Title I and Title II grants both decreased in the amount that we were allocated from the state. That means that there's two factors that play into that. Our free and reduced lunch rate might have changed, which it did in the eyes of the state. And the formula that the state uses to figure that out also changed a little bit in terms of our population. For Title III, you'll see a few dashes. We've never applied for Title III before. So Title I touches academic intervention services. That's what we use it for. Title IIA is to provide professional development for those academic intervention services. Title III has to do with our English language learners. So our allocation for our English language learners in Title III has always been pretty minimal in terms of the grant world. Last year, I think it was like $147 to get the grant. And so we said, well, we wouldn't apply. This year, we've had a few extra expenses, and I thought, well, maybe we'll just push our grant through and see what happens. We have not been approved on that grant yet. Sometimes the state will not approve them if they are less than $5,000, but we felt that the needs of our students that are considered L's really outweighed not applying for it. So we'll see what happens with that one. As soon as we know, we'll let you know. And then Title IV is kind of an interesting land right now. It's the only one of our grants that went up in terms of our allocation. So that's great. We like the fact that we are able to get a little bit more money to help support our students and our staff. Title IV is interesting because you have to use Title IV for three things. You have to use it for safe and healthy schools, educating the whole child, and technology. And if your grant goes above allocations of $30,000, you have to apply a certain percentage of that money. You can't just use it however you want to use it. Once you go above $30,000, you have to use it specifically in the categories. So as you can see, our grant went over $30,000 by $98, which means we have to be a little bit more cautious about how we're using our Title IV grant. I did not do anything of the sort to try and hand back the $98. We are good with it because we know that we're going to use it for our safe and healthy schools for our students, okay? So again, along with what Andrea was saying about the IDEA grants, these grants typically are used for all of those teachers, paraprofessionals, a little bit of administrator salaries. They've been used for summer curriculum and summer PD, which I'm going to talk to you about in a little while. Typically, they're used for summer reading and our PASS program. But as you know, this summer was a little bit different. So we've had to make sure that we're allocating those funds in a slightly different way, but meeting the needs of all of our students. So one of the things that we had to make a shift for in Title IV, instead of doing some professional development on some added professional development on positive behavior intervention systems, PBIS. We had to buy MiFi units for students. We had to make sure that we had subscriptions for the MiFi units. If you walk in our hallways and you've seen the little circle signs that say 6 feet apart, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. We bought those out of our Title IV money because it's all promoting a safe and healthy school. So it's been a little bit of an interesting challenge to figure out what we could use that money for. We also get carryover of that money, so anything that was left at the end of this year will be carrying over to next year's budget. And again, I threw in a slide that shows you what those Title IV allocations need to be allocated to. We're pretty good with making sure that 20% goes to well-rounded education, 20% or more goes to safe and healthy schools. And there isn't a minimum use for technology. It's interesting that it's written that way because they don't really want you to use Title IV money for more of our technology needs because we have other sources of funding for that. And then we did list some resources. We're going to make sure you guys have the link to these slides so you can see the hot links to get to the resources. But does anybody have any questions for me in terms of the title grants and ESSA? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ladies, very much. So, I think we're gonna go right into the. All right, I'm gonna call the regular meeting to order, and if you would please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do not believe we need an executive session tonight, so we're going to skip over that. And welcome those that are joining us today. For those watching from our YouTube channel, if you have any comments, please use the YouTube chat feature, and the moderator will let us know when you have a comment. I'll remind you that there is a public access at the end of the meeting as well. You people that have joined us in person, we appreciate you taking the time to attend our meeting and welcome your comments. Anyone would like to speak tonight? If not, that's great. If I'm not even gonna say, if you could all refrain from texting, that'd be lovely. I'm gonna go right into the approval of the agenda. So you all have a blue piece of paper. I just want to make sure we're doing this correctly because obviously there is a lot on the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda. I'm removing H1 on H1FF. We are removing the cheerleading coaches. On H1H, we are removing the temporary nurse because I believe she's already on. We've already approved it, so that's why so I'm removing those. And then we are adding H1A, H1P1, H1X1, H1U1. That all made sense?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I just found out we have a correction on H1Z under mentors. The first three, it's year 2, not year 1.
H1Z year 2, not year 1. Okay, so could I have a motion on all those changes that we just made? Chad, John? Okay, great. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. That brings us to the acceptance of the minutes from the August 10th regular meeting as submitted. Any questions on those? If not, those will stand as submitted. Joe, help me out with this.
I tried to get a treasurer's report. Audit was finalized last Wednesday or Thursday. She wasn't confident, the treasurer wasn't So hopefully, she will have one for the October meeting, or probably more than one month.
So hopefully we'll see it at the audit committee soon.
Well, I don't think you'll see the treasurer.
No,
The
okay.
next meeting, the October
Gotcha.
meeting, you'll see.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna skip over that. And that brings us to administrators' reports, and I think Chris is gonna give us a recap of the new school year.
Yeah, so thanks for being here tonight. Mabel, happy birthday to you. And 86, God bless you. Sure. Just want to say how proud I am of all of our employees and all of our students and parents for helping us to have such a smooth opening of school. You know, we all anticipated having a billion problems from the time we were told we could reopen school to now. And fortunately, knock on wood, you know, all of our systems and protocols have been working. Life is not without glitches. Some of our students who are doing the full remote program are still kind of finding their way with their teachers and some of the technology and bandwidth and all of that. But that's a broader picture because, you know, obviously BOCES has a lot of school districts that they utilize their internet and protocol. So we're getting there though. We're not scheduling any meetings or anything this week. We're giving the teachers and our custodians and transportation 5 full days in their own areas to try to work out all the kinks and get things going. One thing that I will say in visiting classrooms is that, you know, learning is taking place already. I know, you know, Mrs. Freed is here, and I'll pick on her for a second. Just walking into her room, with the exception of students wearing masks, it looks like a regular start of school. It really, really does. And right from day one, you know, learning started taking place. I was I'm not surprised, it's not the right word. The students have had no issues wearing their masks in any location whatsoever. It has not been any type of management issue whatsoever. So I applaud the parents for helping them to get ready to be wearing their masks and all that. Elementary teachers have done a ton of creative things. Many of them have created laminated placemats for students to eat their breakfast and lunch on, since they're cohorted in their classroom, and that's been protecting their desks and the contents and all that kind of thing. And it was interesting in the middle school, high school, they're starting with synchronous instruction. So they're teaching the students at home the same time they're teaching the students that are in school. And walking into Brian Ayers' class, he already figured out he had his home students tiled like the Brady Bunch on his screen, and he's got the students in the class, and he's going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as if he had one full class. And I thought that was a pretty cool use of technology, you know. And we've got more tools that we're rolling out. I want to thank Brenda and her crew for being able to do that while she's also trying to, there's just a lot going on in technology, and they've been able to do the best that they can shorthanded, you know. But we'll have to continue. I told everybody by Friday, I'd like to be as far along with where we're going to be for the rest of the year, or as much as we know, by the end of the week. And I'll report back to you about that on Friday. But you know, so far so good. We just want to keep people healthy. We already did use our isolation room one time, and it worked. We had a child who presented with a stomach ache and went right to the isolation room. Nurse took care of that. Nurse contacted the Department of Health, as she should have. Department of Health had to caucus with the broader Department of Health, because they've been getting a lot of calls about kids who frequent the nurse's office, and that stomach ache does not qualify as something that needs a negative COVID test that extreme nauseousness does. So just the stomach ache did not. Child came back to school the next day, and we were right back where we had to be. So we'll just want to try to keep what we're doing. On the employee side, they're very happy with the daily temperature checks, and with the employees using the survey that they have to use every day. We've had a couple of false positives. Anytime an employee fills out the survey, if there's one indicator that's false, which would mean maybe they shouldn't be at school, it comes to me, and then it also goes to that building principal. And we've had a couple of just people have accidentally hit the wrong keys. So we're calling them up and saying, hey, should you be going home? And they're like, what are you talking about? And then they'll say, I didn't have my glasses on, or I didn't whatever, you know. And so, you know, not fortunately, we've been good. We obviously expect that we're going to have some sickness. It's going to happen. And so I've already written I already have a sample letter that'll go out to the community should we have a student or staff member who tests positive for COVID. Community members are also going to have access to a dashboard. Shireen is kind enough with Amy Carroll every day to collect the data, and every day we have to say how many students were in school, how many students learned remotely, did we have any positive tests, and so every day by 3 p.m. she has to have that information there, and that dashboard is going to be made public. It'll be on our website so anybody can check at any given time. So no, I thank the board for their support too, just letting us do what we had to do to get up and running. And you know, the one area of concern of mine has to do with cleaning. Our cleaners are doing a great job. It's just that we don't have enough of them, and especially in this high school building. And I think a lot of schools are feeling the same pinch. A lot of school districts, as soon as people start getting sick or start taking vacation days and that kind of thing, it's going to make a shuffle that we're going to hopefully be able to handle. So just for the public to know, I had informed the board that I told Dan Blankenberg, or authorized him to seek out 2 more cleaners, so we would make sure we have some people on hand. We've hired 1, and we're trying to find 1 more. So I think if we had that, we're going to be in good shape. So with that, I was happy, and just thanks again to people who are coming to our food distributions. I don't think people understand how important that is, because the more people come, the more we can put in our surveys, which means the more food we get the next time we have them. So we were fortunate enough to get 300 units of food, which we went through. Phyllis, 1,142 individuals we served in just about an hour. So it's impressive, you know, and it's not a good thing because you're seeing the need in the community, but it's a good thing that we have it and that people are actually coming to use it. So that's it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, awesome.
Yep.
And the buildings and grounds, as usual, just look amazing.
Yeah, they're great, right?
Yeah, yeah. And if you've never been to the Food Link handout thing, the first 3 Thursdays in October, it's just amazing, and they always use help.
I always feel so bad that we run out so
I know.
quickly and people are, you know,
Yeah.
when it's supposed to be like 3 to 5.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we're out by 4.
yeah.
Because so many people have lined up.
The line down Baldwin Road is just
Come
amazing.
in and we, you know, we have like a few random things not to give them, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I did want to mention one more thing. I'm sorry, because it just came up today. Paul Lahue, our athletic director, and I are going to be hosting an athletics town hall tomorrow night from 5 to 6 p.m. And I would suggest that if you're a parent who has a child involved in sports, or if you go to games, and we have also invited the coaches, we've invited the athletes to attend. We're going to go over everything that we know. It'll take us about a half an hour, but we're going to go over everything that we know related to fall sports. There's some requirements by the Department of Health that I think everybody should know in our community. There's also some things coming out of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association that we think everybody should know. And those 2 things have put some constraints, not only on what Marcus Whitman can do, but what other school districts can do. So as the athletic directors are really trying to formulate schedules and all of that, I want to make sure that we talk to the community about transportation and other things that may really block us from being able to have a regular type fall season, okay? And then on the academic side, Erica Hasselstrom is working on 2 dates. One should be this week. Yeah, no, we're working on that.
Green Night?
Yeah.
Next week,
sorry.
beginning of next.
Yep, so we have 2 dates coming up. One is going to be for our fully remote learners and their parents and guardians, just to hop on and be able to get some extra tips and tricks. We want to hear what their concerns are, be able to answer them. Again, you know, Brenda and her team and the teachers have been doing a nice job, but we want to give people an opportunity to really tell us what's going on. And then the second one is going to be for our hybrid learners, so that, again, parents, guardians, and students can pop on just for an hour, and we'll be able to give them some tips and tricks and answer questions as well. So Erica's going to have those dates really soon. She'll now finalize that probably tomorrow and get that out to everybody, including our community. Phyllis.
Will these be recorded so if somebody can't, and they'll be able to access it on the website?
Yeah, so we're going to be using our YouTube channel. So we'll have, just like we've done Fred the Robot Vacuum,
Right.
but people will be able to comment through the chat feature in YouTube, and we'll have all of those posted for people to go
So
back
if they
and take a
can't
look
be
at.
there
Yep.
for the actual thing, they can still see it.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you for asking that. Yep. Sorry about that.
So the other thing about that is that they will be on the YouTube channel, but we also have, kind of tips for students, teachers, families, that we're just adding those resources to regularly. So we're gonna make sure that we have those links embedded for them so that they see those. This is a super helpful function for, students and families.
On the YouTube channel, not on the
So
website?
they're
or on-
located on our
On
website,
the website, okay.
and we have it as a pop-up for them
Yes.
usually, to be able to see those and be able to reflect on that.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry about the delay, but I wanted to
No,
get that
you're
out.
fine,
So
that's good.
that's all I got. Thank you.
I did ask Sharina if she could send out a reminder to all of us tomorrow.
Yep.
Because I think that would be great to watch, but as long as we know we can watch it later.
Yep. And it's a quick presentation. We figured there might be some questions, so it's about a 30-minute actual presentation. We left 30 minutes for questions, so
Okay,
pretty quick and easy.
awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. And I think Scott Robinson is gonna chat with us about the extended school year and the summer school results.
Scott's going to talk about how much he loves being assistant principal, loved being the guinea pig administrator for the first COVID extended school year. Yeah.
Well, do tell us.
And it's all true, I do love it. I wrote up a fact sheet for everybody, that you guys just titled ESY 2020 from July 6th to August 14th. And I just wrote up a fact sheet just telling you that, yes, we were the guinea pigs and just bringing it back, but we had the distinct privilege of bringing back 12 students to the Gorham campus this summer and spending time with them and getting them acclimated of what it means to come back to school, especially in a pandemic. We had kids in grades K through 8. We had one classroom of each. We had related services done virtually, which include your physical therapy, occupational therapy, music therapy, speech, so on and so forth. We were able to provide breakfast and lunch every day. Huge kudos to Carol Wilson and her team, and Leah Shipman and the transportation crew for providing that on a daily basis. Also, a huge shout out to Roxy Smith, who was our own personal maintenance crew for the Gorham, and she's just amazing. We couldn't thank her enough. We spent a lot of time this summer working on academics, really focusing on math and ELA, but what was most important is reacclimating the students to come back into an environment where there are going to be restrictions. So rekindling those relationships that they haven't seen their friends since March when we closed. What it means to be back in the community. How to be responsive and reactive during these times that we're going through right now. And I have to tell you, every kid was resilient that came back. They were the utmost respectful. They really cared about what they were doing. They took direction extremely well, and it was just a pleasure to see how much they've grown, especially being away for so long. I couldn't ask for a better team that I worked with. Our teachers and our staff were amazing and did an awesome job working with these kids. Unfortunately, we couldn't have the regular ESY program where we went on field trips and everything, so we had to be creative, and we ended up having like virtual field trips in the classroom. Our secondary classroom under Greg O'Connor did a lot of critical thinking skills with the kids to really help them. We were welcoming back a couple of students in the secondary classroom that were in outside programs and are coming back to Marcus Whitman this year. So we wanted to reacclimate them to the Marcus Whitman way and get them familiar with what to expect in middle school. We reintroduced the PBIS program by giving cause out to the students for really recognizing safety, responsibility, and respectfulness. We celebrated with them every week and try to make it fun. We had like a Friday fun afternoon where we had like ice cream sundaes one time. We had snow cones. We had like things out on the lawn for them to do, but physically distanced, of course. But overall, it was an amazing experience. And we really set the foundation of what it was like to come back in the fall and what it means to be safe and responsible and respectful. On the back, I kind of surveyed the staff and said, if you could say one thing about ESY this summer, and these are some of the comments that I received. But like Chris said, loved doing it and looking forward to it again. Can I answer any questions for anybody? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
I love the blue and gold percentage. All right, I think Erica's gonna give us some information on the summer professional development offer.
Yes. So there's no music or dancing or singing along with this. There's no fun games embedded. And you're gonna be surprised that there are no pictures in here because all of them, he doesn't know the same then. All through the summer, we were doing professional development, and at the end of the day, I made sure that I was following the protocol of staying either seated or away from people, and I realized I didn't take a single picture all summer long. So if you followed me on Twitter this summer, it was pretty boring in terms of what was happening, even though there was really great stuff happening in the district. So again, we have this kind of PowerPoint sheets for you, and I thought that the third slide, it's pretty much true to my beliefs about professional development. I love to learn, and I think that professional development should help inspire that with all of our faculty and staff. And hopefully this summer that happened. So like I said, this summer was a very interesting summer for us. We had a plan to start the summer off. And then we had about 14 more plans before we got through the end of the summer in terms of all the professional development that had to change and move and be really true to what we needed to have happen for our teachers. But the one thing I would say, Scott mentioned Roxy at Gorham. So we had used the Gorham building this year, and we had to make sure that the summer school students were safe from the teachers who wanted desperately to go and give them hugs and see them and be with them. So we literally had to put a barrier between where Scott was doing summer school and I was running professional development to keep the kids safe and keep the adults safe. And Roxy, Dan, Mark, and Matt made that possible for us. They were amazing, and we could not have done it without them. The sheer number of times in a day that they moved tables and cleaned things for us was just awesome. So very much appreciative of that. This was the first year that I didn't handle new teacher induction. And thankfully Scott was there to do new teacher induction. So I wanted him to stay up there because he did a great job with that. We did do the things that we've always done with our new teachers. So our year twos, those people going into their second year of teaching in the district, worked on curriculum, they worked on parent communication, they worked on engagement. Our year threes, those people who are going into their third year here, they worked on their artifact albums, which will be due at all points in time during the year because they all have different tenure dates. And then we kept having this talk about having some new teachers and some mentors. So usually there's like a 3-day thing that happens with our new teachers, and because we didn't have them hired until really the end of the summer, Scott did an amazing job of putting them into a 1-day event on September 3rd.
Yep.
It's the latest we've ever done it. It went great. Some of you were there to help meet and greet with those new teachers, and they're good. They were good at the end of the day, they were good in the middle of the day, and they're good right now. So that, I just wanted to say thank you to Scott for picking that for me, and doing a great job with it. Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, so curriculum and instruction. We had a lot of events planned at the beginning of the summer. Gap analysis was the biggest one. We had to figure out where our students left us in March, what they got while we were on leave, and what we were going to do to make up for that when they came back in the fall. And so the teachers came in as teacher leaders and really worked collaboratively to talk about some of the things that they may not have covered as fully as they normally would have due to the circumstances, and how that would impact the next grade level. We also talked about the things that students did really well. So some of our students were really great at making sure that they kept up digitally with their work. And so how do we use that as an example for moving our other students forward? So that was a great set of workshops. We also have these standards that we have to follow. So the state has made some changes to when those standards are rolling out. But we did really want to put a big focus on UPK through 2 ELA and math, and then UPK through 5 science and social studies. Those were our big shifts this year in Valley and Gorham, and so we needed to really devote some time to making sure everybody was on the same page for those types of standards. But one of the things that came out of something that we weren't expecting Last year, you might remember Chris and I talking about finding a new ELA curriculum. And while we had a curriculum focus group that was going strong, our last meeting was the last week in February, we were ready to find a new curriculum, we were ready to move forward to that. When we had closure, we realized we couldn't pilot a new curriculum. We weren't ready to do that without having some teachers be able to truly try it out in their classroom. And somewhere along the road, Chris and I got connected to the Reading League, which is a nonprofit organization that focuses on the science of reading. So probably in your head, you're thinking, shouldn't elementary teachers know the science of reading? Should reading teachers know the science of reading? To be honest, when you ask teachers about that, their backgrounds in reading are all different, right? We needed to come to a consensus on what it was that we were going to do for our students in terms of reading. Remember me talking about that Title I, Title II, Title IV grants? This all plays into that because that's where we need to have some academic intervention in our reading programs. So the Reading League came and did a series of workshops. There's some people in the room that attended them, Nikki. You're more than welcome, I'm sure, to ask her some questions about that. And we had really great aha moments. We had some people who had a little bit of grief about what it was that they thought they were doing in their reading programs and what they now need to be thinking about doing in their reading programs. But one of the things that I thought was the biggest takeaway for our staff that has like permeated throughout for everybody who wasn't even there is this simple view of reading. So I'm going to take you through a math thing really quickly in terms of reading. The goal of reading is reading comprehension. That's what we want every kid, every student who graduates here to be able to do. In order to have reading comprehension, you have to have decoding and language, right? You've got to have all of those pieces working together. Now, if this was an addition problem and the goal was reading comprehension equals a 1, you could totally be able to decode, not be able to have any kind of vocabulary language acquisition and still get a 1. Is that correct, Mrs. President? Yes, I did. 1 plus 0, 1. I still would have 1 with a 1. When it's a math multiplication problem, if you can decode every word on the page, you get a 1. But you don't understand a single word that's on the page, you get a 0. 1 times 0 is 0. Okay? So that means that our kids that can totally decode every word on the page, but don't understand what those words are, cannot understand what the text is saying to them. Okay? That was eye-opening for our teachers, because if you look at the next examples, we have some kiddos who can read half the words on the page, and of those words they understand half of those words. They're only getting a quarter of a comprehension, quarter of the text that they're able to comprehend. That's a problem for our students. It's not just a Marcus Whitman problem. It's a problem with our students across this country, and so we're really trying to focus on that. The one that I think hit our teachers the most is that third example. I've got a kiddo who can read 80% of the words. Yay, good, you've got 80% of those words. I understand 80% of those words. Great, they understand 80% of those words. They're only comprehending 64% of that text. And that's something that we have to work on moving people forward. So I could go into the whole thing about phonies. I'm telling you, it was great. We loved it. Chris is giving me the sign. No, you can tell I'm passionate about it. Our teachers are passionate about it. Hickey? Passionate about it. So I'm going to talk about it one more time in just a minute. So I'm going to keep moving through the summer. So we learned about some reading pieces of the puzzle. We learned about some standards. And then we thought, we have some kiddos who are going to be coming back that need some support with their social emotional learning. That's like walking in the door, we've got to be able to support them. So we really amped up our trainings on PBIS and digital citizenship to make sure that our kids were getting what they need when they come into the building. And you'll see on there, we've really started to focus in on restorative practices and community circles. I can tell you at every PE session this summer, we started with a community circle because the adults have to deal with some social emotional pieces as they're coming back into the building. That really put us at a baseline. I would have done one here, but I'll do it some other time when it's a little bit more free. It really was something that helped set the tone of every single workshop we did. It made it okay for people to talk about what they were scared about, what they were excited about, and it helped us move forward, okay? So then we get back into reopening. And we had to put all of those pieces together. And I can tell you that our teachers were so excited to learn new tools to be able to support their students. These are some of the things that will be talked about when we do the parent nights. But we paid a lot of attention to Cami, which is a what, not a who. Cami is a software program. Go Guardian, Schoology, and Zoom. And then the teachers took everything else that they had done during the summer and put it together to be able to be ready to start the school year with students. So that was a pretty intense week, August 24th. But it was really great to see them questioning and asking, what is it that we're gonna do next? There were a lot of questions about the science of reading because we literally have had one chunk of the science of reading and our teachers are ready to move forward with it. So we had to hold them back a little bit and tell them that this year is about awareness and understanding, but it's inspiring to know that they're ready to move, to make the changes that we need to make for our kids. And with that, that was summer. Any questions for me?
What types of numbers did we see compared to last year, and did COVID hold off any of those numbers?
Yeah, so, no. I had to actually turn people away from sessions this summer. We did the science of reading. It was very well received. And so we did a session where we were supposed to have a full day of 40 people. That was the initial plan. Clearly, we could not have 40 people in a room, so we split it into 2 groups of 20. And then the following week, because we had so many people, I ran the sessions with, I think, 15 more people. So lots of people. The last week of August 24th, I think, not because they didn't want to be here, we had like 7 teachers total out of our entire staff not able to come in. So they were ready to be here and they were ready to learn the things they needed to learn so that they could make it work for kids. Yeah, it was a good time. Lots of learning. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
All right. All right, I think that we're done with the reports, yes?
Yep.
That brings us to our consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda that is H1A to H17, including the items from the addendum that we approved. Phyllis, Sue, thank you. All right, there's a lot on there. Are there any questions? All right, if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Let me just take a minute here and scroll. Sorry. I believe it's- All right, that brings us to our second public access. Brenda, can she just check, is there anybody chatting?
Nothing that provides me has been cut off with us. So
Oh, okay.
Something I will wait.
Feel free to interrupt if there, yes, okay. All right, so that brings us to board member items. I think you all got the audit committee meeting, August, the minutes. Does anybody have any questions on that? Do you want to add anything to that?
No, but I'm gonna step out. So I just want to remind you that the meeting on September 22nd for the audit committee, the auditors will be here to present the draft of the audit. which they'll review, and then they'll bring it to the board at the actual review. And it is at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Is that it? Yeah.
So, and I just wanted to mention, I happened to be in the building the day that they're having the, safety committee meeting, so I went. And I just have to tell you, I was blown away at, the serious tone and the preparation that the staff took for that meeting. And I mean, I don't think any of us can fathom what has gone on behind the scenes to bring the students back. I mean, they had everything from, meeting the parents in the cars to, obviously getting the students on the buses, and it was incredible to me. And obviously we wouldn't have been able to open the doors if they hadn't done all that behind the scenes. And I think Dan Blankenberg kind of took charge of that meeting, just went around the room and to each of the principals, and it was amazing. I just, kudos to everyone involved. I just can't imagine what has gone on behind the scenes. But thank you to all of that. I just want to bring up a topic only because I think we're all under the impression of one thing, and it's not so. Attendance at board meetings. So Shireen sends us all out the links to remind us of the board meetings, and we all reply, accept or deny or decline. If we send decline back to Shireen, it just means one board member is declining. She has no idea who that board member is. So I was thinking, we would all just know when somebody can't come. So she has no idea. So in the future, and so I think I just want to say she's going to send those invitations out that we have our board meetings, so that that's just a reminder of the dates. If you can't make a meeting, then if you could text either the three of us or one of the three of us or whatever, that would be helpful, because I guess I was just under the assumption when you said decline, it meant Shireen knew that you weren't going to be at a board meeting. So she has no idea how that works. I don't know, or why that works like that. I don't know. But yeah, so if you hit decline that you can't make something, at least make sure one, if not the three of us know. So I just was under the assumption we all know that. Yeah, and I guess like what I just said about the safety committee meeting. If they're I know the buildings and grounds has 3 people on it, so I don't think that matters. But and the audit committee has 3 people. But just tell somebody if you can't. Tell somebody on the committee if you can't. Whatever. But interesting and good to know. I guess I learned something on that. So, are there any other board member items? Yes.
Yeah, I went to we Zoomed actually a legislative meeting on Saturday, and obviously our topic of discussion this year is COVID, and what can be done for schools to recoup some money for supplies and things like that. So we just started meeting.
She comes across the room.
Yeah.
See Brenda coming in. So anyways, we had our first meeting on Saturday. They're gonna try to alternate them. I don't know how it's gonna work. There is one person from Canandaigua that Saturday is her Sabbath, so she can't make meetings on Saturdays. So we're trying to figure out another time that we can also have them. And any of you are welcome to Zoom in if you are enjoying the meeting, if you want, especially if you've got, anything in particular that you would like to see them address, or let me know if there's something you would like to see them address. But, so we're trying to come up with alternating dates, and some will be virtual, most probably will be virtual, some might be in person, so we'll see how it goes. But I will keep you updated as far as, our progress and what's going to happen.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know there's another one coming up in September, I think. Is there September or October? A general, I think there's a general meeting coming up in September or October, but they're all via Zoom, so. Which I'm assuming they're getting more attendance. how much did you get? There was 24 on the
And
last
just so you know, I'm on the audit committee. They,
You raised your hand?
no,
They-
no, I did not. They just mailed me and asked me if I would do it, so I'll be auditing Sue's books for 4 County tomorrow night,
Oh my.
because I don't have enough.
Hmm. Yeah, Marla has been, is everybody getting those communications? I got it on my personal email this time, which I thought was odd, not the school email, so I just want to make sure. Do you? Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, and the annual meeting, should be interesting. I was gonna say, they better have a lot of technical support on that, because I can't imagine, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna send us out emails as to how to get into those meetings, but if something goes wrong, they better, it's gonna be interesting. So. All right. Does anybody have anything else for board member items? No? It's September 25th. There's something September 25th, but I'm gonna go to the.
So tell me, we get paid?
It was like half the amount. as it was before. Yeah, it was like $265.
What's that
Sheila,
report? You gave it all.
I wrote this down on my note sheet and I left it home and so I knew there was something else I wanted to bring. There is like, the voting, if you just go to the business meeting.
Yes.
You don't have to pay anything.
Oh, I did not read that.
Well, I don't know if they put it out there, but she covered that on Saturday. So if you go to just the business meeting to vote as a delegate,
I did sign up to
you
go
don't
to.
have to, you don't have to pay anything. And there is, did you know about the meeting in Victor? There's a.
The yeah.
Yes, where they
Are
just.
they doing that via Zoom, do you know, or it's in Victor?
I don't know, I wrote it down, so
Okay.
I will let you know.
Okay,
I'll go back and look it up.
okay. Yeah, I did look at the that booklet that they sent out with the things that they're gonna talk about. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what the attendance does, whether it increases or decreases because of. But I was interested in the prices. I know, and I'm also interested if they're going to have it where you can watch it later, because if you can watch it later, yeah, why pay the price?
Then nobody would pay.
Right, exactly, yeah, but it's interesting if they are or they aren't, but I just don't know. Yeah, there are some interesting. Yeah, that's why I'm saying they better have tech people. Because I can't imagine if you can't get on, then what do you do? So, all right, anything else? If not, we do not need executive session.
No, so moved.
Jeff Jeff and Corey, I believe the meeting is ended. Like to vote on that?
I know, right?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Guys can leave quickly and get to the.
Before you leave,
Oh,